How you guys doing? I'm sorry, my voice is terrible right now. My little guy, Asen, just got me sick, and my wife, so bear with me. So mine's not gonna be as fun as Miss Perry's, but I'll be able to tell you a little bit about myself, and then what I think of as Black excellence. Who here have ever heard of a financial advisor before? What do financial advisors do, guys? Yeah? So Damien said it well, right? You help build wealth with folks and then control their future. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, of how I even got here, because not only a couple of years ago, I was actually down the street from you guys. So I went to Sherman Middle School, and I went to Hawthorne Middle School. So I ended up being one of those kids, though, that happened to be getting in a lot of trouble. So this thing that we had at Hawthorne was called the communication sheet. And I would have 3 or 4 communication sheets going home to my dad. And my dad is a Jamaican. About 99% of my family is all Jamaican. I was, however, though, born in New York and then traveled back to Jamaica to live for a little bit of time. So coming back to the stateside, what I wanted to be actually growing up was like my mom. So my mom right now manages a hospital over in Dubai. Who knows where Dubai is? It's super expensive. So she was over in London, England most of my childhood, and when she now manages this hospital in Dubai, I was like, she's a nurse that's managing this hospital. I want to be a nurse someday. So my younger brother, his name's Jermaine, ended up having open heart surgery when he was 3 years old. And I had to take care of him, so I had to be the oldest brother that said, okay, we're not going to roughhouse because we don't want to break open the stitches to bleed out, right? But then I had to change the gauze on his chest. So that taught me the human body. And I was like, if that looks pretty cool, right? Even though I wasn't scared of blood and all that other jazz yet. So I actually came out of high school and went into nursing for a little bit and worked for hospice care. Who here knows what hospice care is? What's hospice care? Yup.
It's like people that help people that are like sick or like being helped.
Perfect. That's true. So hospice care has a big stigma around it that says, you know, a lot of people think about it as if you sign on to hospice, you're going to die. It's not true, right? You get a lot more help and a lot more folks around you that are able to assist you better, and then you usually graduate off hospice a lot quicker than when you get onto it. So hospice care made me very passionate, where I thought I was going to actually be, when I was your age, an orthopedic surgeon. Who here knew what they wanted to be at that age? A couple of you guys said you knew what you wanted to be. What do you want to be?
Me?
Yup.
A fashion designer.
Fashion designer? What kind of fashion? Shoes? Clothes?
Everything.
Okay. How about you?
Explosive specialist.
What's that?
Explosive specialist.
Explosive specialist? You going in the military?
Yeah.
All right. There you go, right on, man. So, one of the things that I wanted to do, because coming from my family was, I'm the oldest brother of 4 younger brothers, okay? So that meaning I had to take care of my older brothers and be that example. So I was being a terrible example when I was growing up, and a lot of the times my teachers would tell me that, you know, someday if I keep on this path, I was gonna end up in jail, right? No one wants to go to jail. But the thing that changed my life was not only there was one math teacher who was an algebra teacher that was in my 8th grade year that told me that to the front of the class, I would be the best mathematician in the class someday, right? I was good at math, didn't really pay attention in school because I wanted to be the class clown. And the thing is, I was taking most of my money and buying it on all shoes. As a financial advisor, I'm gonna tell you, it's a terrible idea, right? We could put our money to a lot better use. So, one of the things that I was doing that I wanted to do was I became able to start setting goals. So my first mentor that I met was actually a part of the 100 Black Men, changed my life, right? Name is J.R. Sims. Told him to this day that a lot of the folks that I know, and the reason why I am where I am today is because of him, because I look back at him and self-reflected and see a sharp guy that drives a Mercedes-Benz, a nice car. He's got a nice dress suit, and he has a job that I've never heard of. So he's a derivatives trader. So it has to do with the stock market. Who's heard of the stock market? Nice. So the stock market's a little complex place, but it's a fun environment. So him doing that, he kind of said, okay, I can believe in you that if you do these steps, you will be successful. So one of the things that I wanted to become for sure, it didn't even sink into my head yet, was a financial advisor someday, but I actually took a different path. So my best friend since second grade, who here knows Jennifer Johnson?
Yeah.
Back there? Her son, Dominic Johnson, has been my best friend since second grade. Okay? And now he's actually a financial advisor over at Northwestern Mutual as well. And we do a lot of work together. But he just said, he calls me June. You guys call me June too if you want. I don't care. Right? So he says, June, if you want to look to create the autonomy that you want, the lifestyle for your family that you'd like, and be able to not only do all of those things, but still have an impact like you're having in the hospice care field with your clients and create that client experience, this is the place for you. So I made the transition about 2 years ago, and I love it, okay? So I'm able to not only plan for folks about talking about debt, so student loan debt, who's ready for college?
No.
Hey, college comes someday, student loan debts follow. That's okay, but it's good debt. So talking about that is like, okay, I wanted to realistically do this thing very well and create a client experience like no other. So the number one thing that I have that means the most to me is family. So the type of thing that I say is great and why I like family is I usually think that no one's gonna treat you better than family. So what I always tell my clients is no matter what, right, life is not about money that you have in the bank. It's about the experiences that you have with the ones that you love and the ones that you care about, okay? And it's a big thing to grow by because that a lot of people think that you have to have this large bank account or this large amount of money in the bank to be able to be successful, which is not true. Success is what you define it as, okay? Not by the amount of money that you have in your bank account, right? So that's me and how I got to where I was. Let's talk about why did you want to become an explosive specialist?
I was taking after my grandfather. He was in the military for 80 years.
That's awesome, man. Absolutely. It's awesome. So do you guys have any questions for me? I'm going to be able to ask some questions.
We got 5 questions. Let's get 5
Which
good
car?
questions.
Orange car.
Orange cars? Orange cars.
Go ahead.
Why did you work at Northwestern Mutual and how did it change the world?
Why I worked at Northwestern Mutual is because I have the capacity to work with anyone in any space instead of just picking and working with only the top 1% of the world, right? So a lot of the financial firms will put together these requirements where you can only work with a certain individual if they have this amount of money. So my dad is now 49 years old, right? And he's a Jamaican immigrant, so his mindset is set to that I am not gonna retire someday, but I'm gonna work until I'm dead. Who here has parents from a different place, right? So a lot of those folks that come from the third world country have never heard of what retirement is because my great grandmother is still alive today and she's in Jamaica. She's walking with coconuts on the top of her head about 5-10 miles to go to the market to sell it every day and back and forth, right? So she doesn't know what retirement is, even though she's a stubborn old granny and we're like, all right, we can make you retire. She doesn't want to do it because it's instilled in her. So me wanting to change that mindset for my dad to say you can live the quality of life that you want and still be able to not end up in my basement someday is why I became financial advisor.
You kind of answered it, but when going to college for your job, did you go to college with your major in mind, or were you influenced to change it by being what you wanted?
So I actually went to college because I thought I was going to go into nursing so much. So I took some business courses because numbers were something I always favored in going through school. I always did well in math because it came easy to me and I didn't have to try very hard. So my number one thing I thought I was going to actually be was a big-time football player, okay? And it just didn't work out. So I don't know if you know much about your principal, but he was going to be a big-time football player too. Yeah, but that's okay. Who else has got some questions?
What advice do you have for the people in here who want to be business people?
The advice I have is you should definitely lean on your teachers because they are good guidance tools to help you put together a plan of goals that you want to see yourself achieve someday, okay? The gentleman I said that was one of my biggest pillars for me changing around my life helped me goal plan huge, right? So when I was growing up, number one thing I wanted to do was own a home someday. So I set out to have that goal achieved after my first year out of high school. A lot of people didn't even know I bought a house because I'm not one person to go on social media and like plaster everything I have on there, but I did. I went and bought that house with my longtime girlfriend, now wife, in our first home. So someday we're looking to build and achieve that next dream, but it's always about the goals that you want to set and set that path to achieve it. Okay? Go ahead.
Did you ever imagine that you were going to be a financial advisor?
Not at all. Not even close. So I definitely thought I was gonna become a doctor someday. For like, my heart was set on it. My mom had it mapped out for me and talked to me about it all the time on the phone. Like, you need to be a doctor. You got to do this. And I was like, okay. So I just, sidelined a little bit, but she's still proud of where I am today. So that's okay. Anyone else? Yeah.
Did you have a scholarship going to your college, or did you pay for it?
So both. I had a bunch of scholarships that were academic scholarships. One of the things that as a goal I set out for myself was to never get a C in high school and to always maintain a B average. So I was able to do that, and I got a couple of academic scholarships. And that was while I was playing sports all year round, right? I always took it as if I could be the best I could be, I would be able to be as successful as I want to be in school and outside of school as well, if I gave it my all.
Do you ever get bored of your job?
No. So I see unique things all the time with different people in different scenarios. So it keeps it interesting for me. So every new person I sit down in front of is a new challenge that I get to, kind of unwind and then tailor fit something new to them as well. So never get boring. It always keep growing. How you doing? Queen, right?
So, what like inspired you or kept pushing you to like follow your dreams, so you didn't like give up on yourself like midway?
I got you. We're about to go deep. So, the thing that drove me not to want to be so successful was wanting to create a different lifestyle than the one I had growing up. The number one thing that I wanted to be was my biggest fan for any of my kids, right? So the number one thing that I felt what I was missing was my dad worked so much, he was never able to attend any of my sporting event other than one my senior year, and that was parent night that he came, okay? So I would look up into the stands looking for my parents to, be that biggest fan, and no one was there. It drive me nuts, right? So I said the reason why I want to be in this position was to be able to create the autonomy. I have a 1.5-year-old son named Asen now that says, no matter what I have going on, I want to be able to create my own schedule to be his biggest fan. I want to be that mama in the crowd. All right, that's why it drove me crazy. So I wanted to make sure that I could be that for him for sure, and any kids that I have in the future.
Last question.
What's your favorite part about your job?
The new people that I get to meet and the new relationships I'm able to create. I get to meet a lot of unique people in like I said, a lot of unique scenarios, and being able to grow with them and show them a peace of mind is something that I'm very passionate about, because finances in my household was actually managed by me at 9 years old. So having to learn how to balance a checkbook, pay bills on time, and then not only that, translate to my dad like why this is important to pay bills. Otherwise, we're gonna be out. What's that? I speak fluent patois. I just lost my accent coming back. My dad still has a heavy one though. Thank you guys. Yeah.